Good morning. It's been a heck of a morning, I'd say, or day. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind, but good morning to you guys. This is Jackie Glass, Mama Navy Vet, Certified Doer, and Laced Up Legislator for the House of Delegates 89th District. I hope you are well today as I get myself all in shape as they like to call it sometimes. Good morning. We're just a tad bit behind, but we're gonna keep it rolling. I'm gonna get the important, unimportant things that need to happen every morning, stuff out of the way. So as always, I appreciate you guys taking your time, sharing it with us. We are in the midst of making sure that we're able to continue to do the good work and expand the good work. So we're asking for you to contribute to invest in what our little group of certified doers are trying to do within the community. 1, 2, if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, you missing out. Sign up for the newsletter. 3, tonight is one of the last 2 sessions for Certified Doers Summer School. So if you have not attended summer school, all of the links for what I just talked about are in the comments. Come on to summer school. Come on. We're down to our last little bit tonight. Folks will be presenting bills or presenting ideas. Good morning. So it is a great opportunity, right? We're rolling into session. Like all the things that we're doing are getting us prepared for January. And when January comes, y'all, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong. I know we're going to be super engaged and on the roll. I don't say busy because we're not busy people. We're productive people. So we're going to be really productive. I did want to get, so you guys sort of a wrap up of what I've been doing this week. I know if you joined the live on Tuesday, then you heard me say that I was at a economic environmental justice retreat, which was absolutely phenomenal. And I want to put some things in you all's ear just about the things to come and just understanding how it's going to take us doing some really good work on the state and local level to be able to reap the benefits of some of the funding that's going to come down that'll be good for our community, good for our schools, good for our schools. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate you, comrade. We try. Definitely try to just stay open, stay curious, and make it a great day, as we say on our on the pod. But I showed you all the one thing that I did want to sort of touch on today, and I know there's a lot in the news, but the one thing I want to make sure that I touched on is I recognize right now that there is a lot, particularly in Norfolk. And for those of you guys, everyone's seeing an increase in gun violence, and just it seems like it's happening all the time. I overstand it. And I'm using because I'm talking about my personal feelings. Is oftentimes it's a real struggle between what you can do and what you can do, what's realistic, and what's needed, right? Like there's a definite push and pull. There are certain things that I absolutely can do. 1, as Delegate Glass. 2, as Jackie Glass, citizen of my city. There are things that I can do that are not realistic, that are not helpful probably in some situations. And then there are things that need to happen that takes a collective to make it happen. Please know that our team, the team is working on presenting some things to our governor and to our colleagues to mitigate, to help our shrinking, help us as communities and as business owners and as people that really believe in our space and place, to help us do the things that are helpful as our police force shrinks. So I am in a push and pull right now about how how I will be able to engage you all on that. So today we're going to be, again, reaching out to the governor's office. I've already reached out to our party leadership on some things I want to do. I'm sort of struggling with how I'm going to put this in the ether while while still hoping that it does good work. So just staying by for that. I'm ready. It's just, y'all know, even just because you got something good that you want to do doesn't mean that you can just, punch through the wall. This isn't a punch through the wall thing, because what I wanted to do is do no harm and do well. Okay, so there's that. I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that, number one, that we put that out there. I hear you. Please don't stop calling the office. Please don't stop saying that there's issues, because you all are the ammunition to push us to do the things. So when you're emailing the office and you're saying this, and this is happening, and then you get 5 of your people or one other person to do it, I can come from a place of truth as I am addressing the issues of constituents or residents of Norfolk, and say, like, this isn't just a Jackie thing. This is the people saying we need and want this. So do not stop that engagement. It is appreciated, if anything. All right, so what I'm doing right now is I'm pulling up my notes from the retreat. Grand Rising. Petersburg has some amazing things going on over there. I'm actually, just to give you guys know, I don't know if you guys know about the Partnership for Petersburg. I'm interested. Definitely. Chioma is in Petersburg. She's here every morning running for Ward 1 seat in Petersburg. But what I'm wondering is what the attitude is on the ground about the Partnership for Petersburg. I wonder what the people think. I get what, politicals will come out, and for perspective, y'all, they just announced, the executive branch of the government just announced that they're doing a partnership in Petersburg, and they had like a bunch of secretariats up there, a plan with 42 initiatives that they're going to be doing, from education to the block and all in between in Petersburg. And we on the outside, other folks come in, and we tend to provide our opinion, but not necessarily knowing what the people on the ground are feeling about the partnership. So while I recognize that there's a party issue, right, because the governor's a Republican, and this is a predominantly black city, and blah 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 blah, I just get the sense of, like, we have to do what's right for those people, and if those people want and need that help, I don't give a damn what the affiliation is. Helping folks, who gets credit, we do it. So if that's a real thing, like if Chioma, definitely, I would love to hear in the chat your take on what's happening down there, and what the folks on the ground in Petersburg are saying or feeling about the partnership. Okay. All right. So first of all, this EJ tree, this is important. So giving you guys understanding, but like, I did not initially have environmental justice as one of the things that I was like honing in on. It wasn't a thing for me. There's all these other things, right? Community and policing, education. There's all these things that sit out in front of us that, y'all, I don't think, at least in the communities that I'm in, that we take the environmental justice side of things so seriously, especially when we have high asthma rates in neighborhoods that we're trying to take care of. Like, there is a lot in the air, in the ground, in the water, that should not be there, there's a direct tie to health benefits. There's a direct tie to quality of life with environmental justice. So what we did was we talked a lot this retreat, and please tell me, we did talk about this on Tuesday, what is your one environmental issue. And I really loved, Chioma the other day said water quality. I mean, that one sticks out to me, that, you know, we don't even think about that sometimes, or at least people not considering the environment piece as one of their issues, like all the many pieces of the environment that influence our daily quality of life. Okay. The biggest takeaway that I got was from, and I'm trying to pull up my notes on this. We talked about just transition, about transitioning spaces and places that used to be an environmental hazard into renewable spaces. So just meaning fair and balanced initiatives. Like I said, the biggest thing I got was, we talked about the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. That's that money, that federal money that's going to be trickling down. That federal money that's going to be trickling down for us to be able to do a lot of great projects. So what we know is, like, there is a grant out there right now, or there is funding in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that would allow for, that's $500 million for schools, just schools, to do updates on HVAC, on a variety of things, of things to our schools. And y'all know, like I know, like that is a huge issue or concern in our in our backyard, is our capital budget for our schools. The piece of this, of being able to know that all this money is going to be allocated, knowing that it's going to be there. The biggest piece and the biggest concern right now is that under this program, under all of this infrastructure money, to include the Inflation Reduction Act money, that there are certain requirements about justice, about equity, and about the environment, that we don't have an administration that believes in these things, right? And so I think I said this before, my biggest concern is that Virginia is going to leave a lot of money on the table because we don't want to follow the, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like these 40 points that you have to hit, that are going to be considered every time we give out money. So no longer is the federal government under President Biden started a new, or the administration started a thing where they're not going to be giving money to whoever raises their hand first, because that's what happens. Who raises their hands first and the highest. That's the way the gentleman put it. And I was like, that's true. That's the way grant money is often given at that level. Whoever raises their hand first and the highest gets it. No. They're going to take these other things into consideration so that this money can get to spaces and places that don't necessarily have the resources, but are getting their grants. So we're going to have to be really brilliant on getting the grants in. Let me see. I see a couple comments. Yes. So Chioma, about Petersburg, 42 initiatives, 60 partners for the people, most part feel good about it. The partnership with Joe Morrissey, pays the way, right? So you had a Democrat and a Republican came together and was like, we're going to do this daggone thing. They did it, and look at what we got for Petersburg. Wow. I'm just interested to see. I definitely want to know how it pans out and what it's like on the ground, how the people of the city are receiving it. That's more important than all of us outside politicians providing our feedback on what y'all doing for your city and who y'all partnering with. So, please keep me in the know. I just would love to have that feedback. She also said environmental justice is the catalyst for the degradation of black communities. Yep, water quality, waste dumping, air quality, the contribution to diseases, to diseases that impact the total quality of life of people of color, right? We know this. And if I hear, the biggest thing we hear down here is Lambert's Point, right? Like the coal piers and the air quality there. And there's some work being done there. There's some work being done, but obviously not enough. This is long-standing thing, environmental issues that have impacted generations of folks within communities. And so, Kim, you're absolutely right. Environmental justice is social justice. I just wish that we could we have to fill that space up. Hold on, some money's passing over. All right. So as I said before, there is a lot of money that's going to be offered to localities to get really smart on this stuff, right? There's even money to help localities get advocates to help them understand how to spend this money. But the issue I'm seeing, particularly with, you know, the environmental justice stuff that they're trying to do, and the initiatives that we're trying to do, is that it's hard to have a national approach when the decisions are made by the state. So while, like, we can applaud the approach at the national level about getting this money down to the localities, it is ultimately going to be up to our administration, our executive branch, to say, yeah, we want that money. And again, that is where you all come in, right? That is where you all come in and have to be the loudest voices in the room, and then allow us to, right? Because we live in a constitutional democratic republic. That republic piece is, I'm supposed to show up because you asked me to show up, is that you have got to show up in droves about saying, like, we are leaving this money on the table, and that cannot happen. Right? That cannot happen. And Kim says the lack of engagement in EJ, especially in the BIPOC communities, is historic environmental has been dominated by affluent. Yeah, that's true. And so one of the pieces of this conference that we did was called Defining Public Participation. And it's about an investment in public participation. You know, engagement takes time, it takes money, it takes energy, and we've got to be really okay and really into investing into the real public engagement, real public participation. And sometimes that's the first thing to go. We build beautiful programs, but then we choose not to market them, right, in a way that pulls people in. And so the programs end up being great but not used. But there is now a Federal Energy Regulatory Commission Office of Public Participation, right? I'm going to say that again. That was a mouthful, but there is now a Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, right? The FERC has a Office of Public Participation. So, like, that is a resource. And the woman that we met there, I'm getting her name right now. Her name is Nicole Sitterman, and I'm going to put this in the chat, Nicole, because that's a thing, right? I don't want to not miss it. But she came and she spoke about what their office is doing, what they're trying to do, how they are a resource, and how they can be a resource. And I would love, there we go, Nicole Sitterman. I hope I'm spelling that right. Yes, I am. There we go. That was important. So, yep, the landfill project was a huge issue in Petersburg. There was one here too, right? A couple years back, we had that same thing. Grassroots organizations in Hampton Roads working on issues. Yep, Newport News. Yep, Sierra Club. We've got a lot of partners. We just gotta. I think part of the whole public participation that you guys are getting to, because that was one of the first. That was one of the first classes that we had in the conference, was helping people understand how it impacts them on the day-to-day basis. Like, what does that mean to you? And we did talk about messaging and things like that, but as we all know, messaging is going to look different depending on where you are. So back to that Office of Public Participation, that recognizing that some of these environmental justice concerns, they cross state lines. So there is some work across the state lines that we're going to need to do to be even more effective, both locally, statewide, and federally. But there is a focus on engagement. So there's supposed to be a rally coming up August 30th. I don't have the details. They're supposed to send us the details, but there's going to be a rally on the 30th around environmental justice in our area, and I will keep you guys posted. The Jimenez, okay, so I don't know anything about the Jimenez principles, but I think that sounds like something we all need to know about. You ready to do a class? It's important that we get around to start, and knowing that the biggest thing that we're hearing, particularly with the money, is that there's a faction of people that are saying, this money, when they say socially advantaged, socially disadvantaged, they're coining that and saying that, anytime you hear these people say socially disadvantaged, they're speaking of non-white people. And and trying to, market these efforts that we're making towards these efforts that we're making towards equity, and assuming that the steps that we make towards equity will damage equality. And that's just patently false, right? Like, again, when we start doing right by all people, it can feel really uncomfortable for those who have had the disadvantage. So when we look at how this money goes to socially disadvantaged communities, like, we've got to say, this is equity, and equity does not have, is not a direct violation to equality. It's actually getting us closer to equality. And that is going to feel uncomfortable for some people, particularly white communities. It is going to feel uncomfortable, right? Because there has been, and I'm saying affluent, those communities have had an advantage and have been cared for, and there are white socially disadvantaged communities, right? Like, there are black socially, there are Hispanic socially disadvantaged communities, and so we've got to really get a whole that when we start that conversation, come from a whole place, that every black person that we know is not socially disadvantaged, because that's a generalization that is patently false as well, right? Like, every single minoritized group of people is not always socially, have they had some social disadvantages? Probably, just that's the way our country's set up. But that doesn't mean that they lived in communities, right? Because we're saying socially disadvantaged community. That doesn't mean they lived in communities that were socially disadvantaged. So it's unfair to make the assumption that every non-white person has lived in a socially disadvantaged community, and that socially disadvantaged is what it is, and we're going to work towards equity, which is not a direct threat to equality. So there is already a framework, just making sure that, like, to get our state level on board, y'all, we're knowing exactly that if they're not going to buy into the federal government standards for being able to get this money because of all the equity and inclusion dynamics of this money, we already have a framework in Virginia, the historically economically disadvantaged communities framework, that we can use to be able to push them to go and get this money. I'm saying this now because this is giving me flashbacks. If you feel like I'm talking about this, the infrastructure money and infrastructure and jobs money and the IRA too much, I definitely have PTSD from ARPA, the American Rescue Plan money, of not being prepared for it and not being ready for it in my own backyard, and not having a plan. That we've got to start making some moves and having some conversations right now with our localities about how they're going to push and make sure that at the state level they go after this money. We have to express the need. So I need y'all to be thinking about what are the needs, and then we can be looking at how does that line up with some of this money that can come down, and how do we push our executive branch to make sure that we go after said money. It's on us, and that's a lot to ask, but it's a lot more of us than it is of them. Right, and to keep it funky, I am a part of them, right? And just to be honest, right, there are 140 legislators and one governor, right? So that's 141 people in the business of trying to, and their staffs, right? Because their staffs are vast, but there are 8 million people in the Commonwealth. So, like, let's get it. And we just got to get the people in on our stuff. And Kim says she's happy to teach. I know you are happy to teach. We need it. There only 1%. What I learned today is that only 1% of the buses here in the Commonwealth are electric, and recognizing that again, we're just talking about the transition and the money that came down to be able to make this happen. What we have to, I think, get in the business of understanding is that all localities are not created created equal. So like someone in Wise, like a school district in Wise, they can have electric bus, but do they have the infrastructure to keep up said electric bus when they've been using gas buses for so long? And so while it's good to have these programs and to want to push and say like, hey, we need to be at a place where we are doing better by the environment, knowing that all localities don't have the ability to sustain them, that doesn't mean that we don't do it in other places, and that doesn't mean that we don't be an asset in helping them get to that point. That just means that we recognize that we're not going to shun folks for having things that they can't necessarily sustain, but we've got work to do, because like I said, this is a team sport. I'm looking at my notes, right? I'm going to get a summary of the IRA, the Infrastructure Reduction Act, and all of the EJ stuff in there. So as soon as I get that information, I'll be putting that out for you all to have if you're interested in it. The last panel that we did, and I'm going to wrap up here because I got about 5 more minutes of your time, is the Reggie panel, which was so dope, right? It's who the heck is Reggie, right? Like, I'm going to have to do this because even I was like, I didn't know Reggie was. So Reggie, if you guys have heard about Reggie, it's the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. And there are currently, I think, 11 states that came together and said that they're going to work on this greenhouse gaseous, thinking about Cassius Clay. So that is Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. However, you all know that our governor is looking at us, is trying to get us to pull out of Reggie. And that's a whole problem. That's a whole problem. That speaks to, again, these sorts of moves speak to the monies that we're going to be leaving. And Virginia, to Kim's point, Virginia was the first southern state to join. Don't forget, y'all, that we are in the South. We are definitely in the South. So the goal of Reggie, right, Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, it's the first mandatory market-based program, meaning like we set in place some regulations, right, to reduce greenhouse emissions in the United States. So we're collectively working together to reduce, and it's a cooperative in these states. And I don't want to get into all of the details of it, but I do want you guys to understand that it's a big freaking deal. It's not. It's a big deal. So there's a department of speaking with, walking into what to some of the things that Reggie is impacting and influencing on the environmental side, is that our Department of Housing and Community Development has these housing innovations in energy efficiency that makes funds for energy, that provides funds for people to do upgrades to new and existing residential buildings, right? It is funded through Reggie, right? Because what happens with Reggie, folks got to pay based off how much greenhouse gases they're emitting, right? Like they get these credits, and I think we need to have Kim needs to do a whole class on Reggie, right? So this Reggie is helping us fund some of these really great things that we're trying to do for people. Yes. And then there's also some funds. Oh, hold on. We got a message in here. Okay, so Black Wall Street Tony says, good morning. I definitely have a plan for our youth and elderly, underserved, homeless population. Can we set up a meeting to push this, Queen? Much appreciated. Mr. Black Wall Street, absolutely. What I'll say is I'm here. I'm put, you guys know how I do it, right? I'm putting my email in the chat, right? Because that is the best way to be able to, if you guys have things that you want to discuss, things that you want to get on the calendar to talk about, events, go ahead and send it to Delegate Del J Glass at house.virginia.gov, and so that staff, because when we're here in this time, I just tell y'all, like, I don't want to be a single point of failure. You can tell me here, and then I'm rolling on to the next thing. I be done forgot you told me here, and then you be like, she didn't get a hold of me, and I don't want to do that. So go ahead and email me, Mr. Black Wall Street, and let us know that you want to set up. And like I said, you bring it up, you head it up, and we're here to be support. We're here to be of support for those sorts of things. So there is a Virginia Community Preparedness Fund that's about $15,000 or something like that can be helped with weatherization. Weatherization is a huge deal, y'all. This is us getting our houses, because our housing stock is so old here, and in many communities across Virginia, we're old. We're an old state. So a lot of the homes here are not energy efficient, or have a lot of issues and have a lot of things that need to happen. So this program is really important, but because Reggie is a helper in the funding, there are a lot of weatherization organizations that are like, I don't know if I'm gonna stay here. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stay, because I don't know what's happening with Reggie, because I don't know if we're gonna be able to get that grant funding to be able to do the things that we need to do to help people weatherize their homes. I am looking for organizations that do weatherization, just to learn a little bit more about what that is, what that associated cost is, because having an energy efficiency in your home means we use less power, right? Which means we want to, it's an economic thing, right? This is about how much comes out of your pocketbook. So definitely want to do, like, as I talk about it, as I talk about this, I think that there is definitely some education that we're going to need to do, community education on this, and maybe some of you guys, as I walk into session, and just making it plain with you guys about what life looks like for me over the next, from now until probably November 1st, is going to be really varsity, right? What I mean by really varsity is, I'm nailing into the ground, and I shouldn't say we, the team, we are nailing into ground all the things we need to do to be prepared for January, because when January hits, I'm back in Richmond mode, and then we'll be there for at least 45 days, recognizing that I'm still in session right now, right? Like right now, session should have ended a while ago, but we got called into a special session, so I'm actually still in session. I'm not out of session, haven't been. Is this something that usually happens? No, it's just the situation that we're in. We will be back in Richmond on September 7th, and we will be voting on an SEC judge. We'll be voting on an SEC judge, and there is a possibility that we'll be hearing some legislation on tax cuts, or some legislation on reproductive rights. So stand by. That's real. So just know that if you're trying to do something, pull something together, I'm gonna need the muscle of the community to help make other things outside of the primary mission happen. Right? This is a video game. We trying to get to the big bad, but those side missions, it's going to take all of us to make those side missions happen, because I don't necessarily have the time capital to make all these things happen, but I can support, right? Like, that's something that I can do. So keeping that in mind as you guys think about the things that you want to do and how we can be of support. Yes, the energy burden, Kim said, the energy burden, the burden of the high cost of energy is disproportionately higher in Black identifying people of color. Black identifying of people of color. Yes, sorry, knew I was messing that up. I was about to say community. So for Black folks, right? Like, that's real. So we're trying to not only help the environment, but help the economy, help your pocketbook. So what I wrote down here is that there was a lot of conversation about Dominion Energy, and how right now on your electric bill you may be seeing like you're paying like 4 cents or something cents to Reggie. That's money on top of money they get, and so like we already are overcharged for the energy that we use, right? That's a fact. That is because of legislation, and we could talk about that later because that's a real thing. However, they're getting money on top of money for Reggie, right, to put into Reggie, when that money can actually be absorbed in the bill. And so they've made a request to the SEC, I believe, to absorb that 4 cents, that 4 extra cents that they were getting from you on top of that stuff, on top of on top of what they was already taking from you, into your regular bill, so that you won't see that. Now there's some other shenanigans going on with that. When I get more information, you'll have more information, because people don't just do nice things like that for no reason. And they should do it, right? So what we know is that Norfolk can submit funds for folks to apply for weatherization's home. Can we build a program? And we do have one that is way backed up. But what I'm going to look into is what a city in Winchester is doing, to see if I can pitch some of these ideas that are happening and working for communities, in other areas, because we've got to do it better. When they say all politics is local, that is not a lie. It is 100% truth. It's 100% truth. And the best thing that I can do for you all is be participatory, be educative, and be willing to receive information to help our local government officials do what they do better. Not just the official, but the departments and communities. So again, I'm going to be talking to some weatherization experts and some community action agencies that are already doing weatherization. But this is an economic development issue. We've got to get on this. If that's one thing, think about how we can save you money on your energy bills, right? That is environmental justice. The work and the things that we can do to save you money on your energy bill is environmental justice, right? Reggie is law, okay? Right now, Reggie is law. And what we're working up against is, right now, the administration is trying to be able to get the Air and Water Quality Board to be able to repeal Reggie. Now, as far as I know, that is a legislative action, right? And there are 140 legislators in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So there is no board that can repeal legislation. So that's a whole nother conversation we're gonna need to have as we clutch our pearls about whether or not we'll still be in Reggie and be able to fund the good things that are going to give justice to a lot of these communities. There is technical assistance for communities on these things. We 100% need to make sure that our localities don't necessarily have all the resources to go after all the grant money and all the things we need to do good work. So with that, there is technical assistance for localities, especially with the Inflation Reduction Act, right? With the Inflation Reduction Act, there is some technical assistance, meaning helping them help themselves. I think it's for every $1 we save on mitigation, right? Lowering the bills, we get $8 in relief for you all. So it's a 1-to-8 ratio. It's worth it. I will leave you all with this, right? Like I said, the IRA has money for weatherization home. We got to go get it. Lastly, is that there is going to be a rally. I do not know the location. It's on August 31st. From 9 to 2. I think Sierra Club is doing it around environmental justice, but it does sound like something that we're going to need to, set something up so that we can learn and do more in this field. All right? Sound good? Woo! That was a lot. And, it's later in the day. It's 7:15. Y'all got stuff to do. You got to get to work. Okay? Or to chilling, whatever your day brings you. But I will say thank you guys for your time. Thank you for letting me go over a bit. It's Thursday. Do great, be great, make it a great day. I'm going and checking my calendar so y'all know where I'm at. If I'm going to see y'all this weekend, where am I going to see you? Where am I going to see you? I will see you at summer school tonight. Are you going to be at summer school tonight? Or summer school tomorrow? Or summer school on Saturday. Sound good? Don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter. Chip in, invest in what we're doing. All the links are in the post. All right, take care, y'all. Make it a great day.